Blame. It's easy. It's comforting. But it's poison. When something goes wrong, our reflex is almost automatic. We point outward. It's because of my boss. It's because of my parents. It's because of luck, timing, fate. And in the moment, blaming feels good. It gives us a story that explains our pain, a shield that protects our ego. But here's the brutal truth. Every time you blame, you surrender your power. The Stoics knew this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca. 3 men who faced crushing loss, betrayal, and hardship refused to waste their lives in blame. They believed that the foundation of freedom is responsibility, that the moment you say, "This is mine to carry," you are no longer a victim, you are a creator. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." To embody Stoicism means taking full ownership of your life. No excuses, no finger-pointing, no stories that give away your power. In this reflection, we'll walk through 5 brutal Stoic lessons that will help you stop blaming and start living with full responsibility. 5 shifts that turn weakness into strength, confusion into clarity, and suffering into growth. So take a breath. This may sting, but remember, the truth that stings is also the truth that sets you free. Part 1. Blame weakens. You blame always feels strong in the moment, but it's actually the language of weakness. When you say it's their fault, what you are really saying is, they control my life. And the Stoics would see that as slavery of the mind. Epictetus, who was born a slave, understood this better than anyone. His body could be chained, beaten, humiliated, but his mind, his will, was untouchable. He wrote, "You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus himself has the power to break my will." Now think about the opposite. Every time you blame, you hand over your will. You say, "My failure belongs to someone else." And with that sentence, you lose both responsibility and the possibility of growth. Imagine 2 people who lose their jobs. One spends weeks blaming the boss, the company, the economy. They sink deeper into bitterness. The other feels the sting, but then asks, "What could I have done differently? What skills can I sharpen? What direction must I take now?" One stays trapped, the other moves forward. Blame weakens because it freezes you in place. It makes you believe the key to your future is in someone else's pocket. But responsibility, no matter how heavy, keeps the key in your hands. Marcus Aurelius never blamed fortune for his burdens. He faced war, plague, betrayal. Yet every night in his journal he reminded himself, "It is not the fault of others. It is the nature of life. My duty is to act well, regardless." So ask yourself right now, where am I still giving away my power through blame? Because the moment you stop blaming, you stop being weak. Parthe, trash naiem. 2. Do, quang, nam tram tu. Here's the paradox. The Stoics understood. Responsibility looks like weight, but it is actually freedom. Most people see responsibility as a burden. "Why do I have to carry this?" they ask. But when you refuse responsibility, you give up control. You become chained to resentment, to waiting for others to change, to wishing the world would bend to your will. Epictetus divided life into 2 realms. What is in your control? Your thoughts, your actions, your character. What is outside your control? Other people, fortune, the past, the future. Blame focuses on the second list. Responsibility focuses on the first. And the first is where freedom lives. Take an example. You start a business and it fails. If you blame the market, the customers, the economy, you are powerless. But if you accept responsibility, suddenly you have freedom. The freedom to learn new skills, to build resilience, to try again with wisdom. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, if it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. Freedom is not the absence of hardship. It is the presence of responsibility. When you say, this is mine to face, you stop waiting for rescue and start building your own path. Responsibility is not a shackle. It's the key that unlocks your independence. So the next time you're tempted to blame, pause. Ask yourself, do I want comfort or do I want freedom? Because comfort keeps you weak. Freedom requires responsibility. Part 3. Stop the excuses. Blame wears many masks. Sometimes it sounds like anger. Other times it sounds like excuses. I don't have time. I don't have the right connections. I wasn't born into the right family. The Stoics would call these what they are. Lies we tell ourselves to justify inaction. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." In other words, difficulty is often created by our own avoidance. We make the mountain taller in our mind than it is in reality. Think about exercise. One person says, "I don't have time," but they scroll for hours on their phone. The truth isn't lack of time, it's lack of priority. Another person says, "I don't have the resources to start." But the truth is, they haven't even taken the first step with what they already have. The Stoics had zero patience for excuses. Why? Because excuses rot the spirit. They trap you in a cycle where nothing changes, but everything feels justified. Marcus Aurelius faced endless reasons to quit. He could have said, "I am too sick, too tired, too burdened." But instead he wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work. As a human being, what do I have to complain of if I am going to do what I was born for?" So the next time you hear an excuse slip from your mouth, ask, is this truth? Or is this blame dressed in softer clothes? Because once you strip away excuses, what remains is clarity. And clarity always demands action. Part 4. Own the pain, own the growth. One of the most radical Stoic ideas is this: the moment you own your pain, you own your growth. Pain is not pleasant. It never will be. But the Stoics believed pain is also the seedbed of strength. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor strengthens the body." Think of training in a gym. Every rep creates micro-tears in your muscles. It hurts. But in the healing, strength is born. Failure and pain in life work the same way. If you spend your time blaming the trainer, the weights, the conditions, you never grow. But if you accept the pain as yours to bear, you transform it into fuel. Consider a soldier wounded in battle. He can spend his days blaming the enemy, the commander, fate itself. Or he can use the wound as a lesson, as a reminder of resilience, as the scar that makes him wiser for the next fight. Marcus Aurelius never wasted his suffering. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." To him, pain was not a wall. It was a doorway. The same applies to you. Your heartbreak, your failure, your setback. These are not punishments. They are training. They are opportunities to become someone deeper, steadier, unshakable, but only if you stop blaming. Because when you blame, you give the pain away, and with it, you lose the growth. Own the pain. Own the growth. Part 5. Responsibility creates legacy. Here is the final lesson. Responsibility doesn't just shape your life. It shapes your legacy. Blame dies with you. Responsibility outlives you. Think of Marcus Aurelius. During the Antonine Plague, a deadly epidemic swept across the empire. He could have blamed the gods, fortune, or his enemies. But instead, he bore the responsibility of leadership. He wrote, he guided, he chose action over complaint. That's why centuries later, we still remember him as the philosopher king. History doesn't honor blamers. It honors those who carried weight with dignity. And the same is true in your personal life. Your family, your children, your friends. They don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be responsible. They need to see that when life strikes, you don't run into excuses or accusations. You rise into ownership. Your legacy is built every day. Not by your victories, not by your possessions, but by the way you respond when things fall apart. Ask yourself, what story will people tell when I am gone? That I blamed, or that I bore responsibility? Because in the end, responsibility is not just freedom. It is remembrance. It is honor. It is the mark you leave on the world. So, let's gather the lessons of the Stoics. Blame weakens you. Responsibility creates freedom. Excuses are lies. Stop them. Pain, when owned, becomes growth. Responsibility builds a legacy. Every time you blame, you hand over your power. Every time you take responsibility, you reclaim it. The Stoics knew that life is not about perfect circumstances. It's about perfect ownership. And ownership is what makes you unbreakable. So the next time you feel the urge to point outward, pause, breathe, and remember, this is mine to carry. This is mine to shape. This is mine to grow from. Because the only real chains are the ones forged by blame. And the only real freedom is responsibility. If this reflection has given you something to hold on to, subscribe to the channel. Let's keep walking the Stoic path together. The next step in your journey may be just one click away.